In 2025, after returning to the White House, President Donald Trump decided to impose very large customs tariffs on most goods entering the United States from almost every country in the world. These customs tariffs simply mean that any foreign company wanting to sell its products in the United States must pay an additional amount to the U.S. government, ranging between 10% and 60% of the value of the goods, depending on the country. The first and very obvious result is that the U.S. government collected an enormous amount of money from these tariffs in 2025 alone, reaching nearly $195 billion, almost 3 times what it used to collect just 1 year earlier. Trump says this money will be used to reduce taxes on Americans, and perhaps in the future to eliminate income tax entirely or partially. But in reality, most economists in the United States and abroad say that these tariffs harm the American people more than they benefit them, for the following simple reasons. When a foreign company pays the customs tariff, it raises the price of the product for the American consumer in order to compensate for the cost. This means that every ordinary American family today pays around $1,200 to $1,600 more per year on clothing, shoes, phones, cars, spare parts, home appliances, and almost everything that comes from abroad. Major studies indicate that the American economy as a whole will lose in the long term and may shrink by 6% to 8%, which means lower income and fewer jobs for ordinary people. Some major countries like China, the European Union, and Canada responded strongly and imposed customs tariffs on American products as well, which led to a kind of trade war. However, it has not yet reached the stage of a full-scale war because everyone is negotiating and trying to minimize the damage. Meanwhile, weaker countries and oil-producing nations such as Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Iraq, Pakistan, and Vietnam could not respond with the same force, so they continued paying the tariffs and tried to negotiate quietly so they would not lose access to the large American market. Trump says he is doing all this for reasons that are clear to him. He wants to force other countries to reduce their tariffs on American products so that trade becomes fair. He wants to bring factories back to the United States and protect American jobs. He wants to reduce America's dependence on China for medicine, electronic chips, and other items important to national security. He wants to collect a lot of money for the government without directly raising taxes on Americans. But economists respond that these benefits are either very small or merely temporary, and that the real damage will appear over the coming years: higher prices, slower growth, fewer jobs in the end, and possibly an economic recession. There is now a major case before the U.S. Supreme Court. Some companies and several states have filed a lawsuit saying that Trump does not have the legal authority to impose all these tariffs in this manner. The Supreme Court will issue a ruling before the end of 2025, and if it rules against Trump, most of these tariffs may suddenly be revoked, ending the government's revenue from them. In very short and simple terms, Trump has bet heavily on the idea that the United States can impose its terms on the world because it is the largest market, and that short-term pain will bring a major payoff in the end. So far, the outcome is mixed. The government has collected a lot of money, but the price of everything has increased. Economic growth has slowed, and ordinary people are the ones paying the bill every day in stores and supermarkets. Within months or a couple of years, we will know exactly who was right, Trump or the economists who have been warning from the beginning.